In a city where every night is filled with sirens, secrets, and people crying out for help, two men are being shaped into something dangerous in completely different ways. One is raised in fear and violence, learning early that power comes from control, from breaking others before they break you. The other loses his sight as a child, only to gain something far more terrifying: the ability to hear everything, every lie, every heartbeat, every scream echoing through Hell's Kitchen. This is a place where the system doesn't protect you, where crimes hide behind suits and boardrooms, and where justice isn't always found in a courtroom. And right in the middle of it all, you have Wilson Fisk, quite calculated, building an empire from the shadows, convinced that destroying the city is the only way to save it. And standing against him is Matt Murdock, a blind lawyer trying to believe in the law by day and becoming something much darker by night. Alongside him, there's Foggy Nelson, loyal, grounded, the one trying to keep things human. And Karen Page, someone who gets pulled deeper into this world than she ever expected. Together, they are trying to fight something much bigger than them and slowly realizing the rules don't work the way they thought they did. Because this isn't just a fight between good and evil, it's a clash of ideologies, of pain, of choices that slowly shape who these people become. One is becoming a kingpin and the other is becoming a devil. This is Daredevil Season 1, grounded, brutal, and way more real than you can expect, and this is the story we are about to dive into. So alright, let's get into it. Guys, Daredevil starts in the most Daredevil way possible. Pain first, explanations later. We are in Hell's Kitchen, New York, and at the center of it is Matt Murdock, a blind lawyer who clearly looked at life and said, yeah, let's make this harder. So by day, he's fighting crime in court, and by night, he's out there punching it in the face, because apparently that's more efficient. But let's rewind for a second. Back in 1994, Kid Matt sees an old man about to get hit by a truck. No thinking, no hesitation, he jumps in to save him, and boom, chemicals spill into his eyes. He goes blind. Now jump to present day. Matt's in a church confessing, but not for something he did. He's asking forgiveness for what he's about to do, and yeah, that's your first red flag. That same night, he puts on a black mask and goes straight into action, takes down a human trafficking operation run by the Russians. No suit, no name, no backup, just pure aggression and a lot of bad decisions that somehow work. Then morning hits and reality hits harder. He's broke, like actually broke, starting a law firm with Foggy Nelson, no clients, no money, and an office that looks like it was chosen because it was the cheapest option available. And right on cue, their first client shows up, Karen Page, accused of murdering her co-worker, found holding a knife next to his dead body. Basically the worst first case you could ask for. But Karen says she did not do it, and Matt listens to her heartbeat and instantly believes her, which is either a superpower or the fastest trust decision ever made. They start digging and things don't add up. The case looks too perfect, like someone wanted her to take the fall. Turns out Karen had uncovered financial corruption at Union Allied, and now suddenly people want her silenced, and not in the let's handle this legally way, more like send someone to kill her in prison kind of way. Yeah, it escalates fast. Matt and Foggy manage to get her out, but now it's clear this isn't just a case anymore. This is something bigger, way bigger. Meanwhile, in the shadows, we see different crime bosses, Russians, Madame Gao, Nobu, Leland, all sitting together, all answering to one man who doesn't even show his face yet, which basically means he's the real problem. Back to Karen, she still has the evidence, a flash drive, but of course the second she goes to get it, she gets attacked again. At this point, Danger is just following her schedule, but Matt shows up, handles the situation, and instead of trusting the police, because clearly that's not safe, he takes the evidence and drops it straight to the press. Next day, everything explodes. Union Allied scandal goes public. Karen is cleared, and for a moment it feels like a win. But yeah, it's not, because the people behind all this don't disappear. They clean up their mess, erase everyone involved, and now they have noticed Nelson and Murdock. And right when things could not get worse, the Russians kidnap a kid. Matt hears it, goes after them, and this time he gets absolutely destroyed. Like, not oh, he lost the fight, destroyed. I mean beaten, broken, thrown into a dumpster like it's over. Episode 2 starts off with the past, and yeah, it's not a happy one. We see young Matt trying to adjust to his new life after going blind, while his father, veteran Jack Murdock, is out there getting beaten in rigged boxing matches just to earn enough money. He's losing fights on purpose, not because he's weak, but because that's how the system works. Dirty money, dirty deals. And behind those deals is a man named Roscoe Sweeney, who tells Jack to throw another fight, this time against Carl Creel. Jack doesn't want to do it, but then he looks at Matt, thinks about his future, and agrees, because sometimes survivor comes before pride. But when the night of the fight finally comes, Jack changes his mind. For the first time, he decides he's not going to lose. Not this time. He places a bet on himself, makes sure the money goes to Matt, and steps into the ring to actually win. And he does. The crowd cheers. Matt finally hears his father as a winner, but yeah, this world doesn't get moments like that last, because the second Jack wins, he signs his own death. Sweeney has him killed that same night, and Matt finds his father's body, and just like that, whatever light was left, gone. Now back to the present, where things aren't exactly better. Matt tries to save the kidnapped kid from the Russians, but this time it goes wrong. Really wrong. He gets beaten badly, like barely alive level, and dumped in a dumpster like trash. That's where Claire Temple finds him. She takes him to her apartment, patches him up, and realizes two things. One, this guy is completely broken, and two, he's blind. She tries to call for help, but Matt stops her, because if the Russians find him, they won't just kill him, they will go after anyone near him too. While Claire is trying to keep him alive, we cut to Foggy and Karen, who are trying to act normal after everything that happened. They go out, get drunk, joke around a bit, but underneath all that, Karen is still scared, because deep down she knows this isn't over. Back at Claire's place, things get tense again, and a man shows up pretending to be a cop, asking about the masked guy. Claire plays it cool, lies straight to his fate, but Matt already knows the truth. The guy isn't a cop, he's Russian, so yeah, bad timing for him. Matt gets up, takes him down, and drags him to the rooftop for answers, and this is where things get darker. The guy starts talking about how crime never ends, how someone else will always replace him, basically trying to get into Matt's head. But Matt's not in the mood for philosophy. He forces the location out of him. The boy is being held at a place called the Troika restaurant, and before leaving, he tells Claire to get out, stay safe, because now she's involved whether she likes or not. Even Claire starts noticing something. This isn't just a guy helping people, there's anger in him, a lot of it. Still, Matt doesn't stop. Half dead, barely recovered, he goes straight to the restaurant, fights his way through the Russians, and this time he finishes it. He saves the boy, but again, not clean, not easy, not without damage. In the episode 3, we are in a boring alley, and a hitman named John Healy walks in like he just wants to play a game. But yeah, that's not why he's there. He approaches his target, pulls out a gun, and it jams. Great timing. So instead of panicking, he just switches plans and smashes the guy guy's head in with a bowling ball. Problem solved. And then he calmly surrenders to the police and asks for a lawyer. And that's where things get interesting. A man named James Wesley shows up at Nelson and Murdock's office with a very specific request: defend Harry. Foggy sees money, obviously, but Matt sees something else. A setup, because Weasley knows things he shouldn't know, especially about Karen's case, which means this isn't random. So Matt agrees not to help Harry but to get closer to whoever is pulling the strings behind all this. At the same time, Karen isn't sitting still either. She keeps digging into Union Allied, trying to figure out how deep this goes, and that leads her to Ben Urich, a journalist who's already been sniffing around the same mess. Different parts, same truth, something big is happening in this city. Meanwhile, the case starts moving forward, and right away things feel off. Harry isn't scared, he's calm, almost like he already knows how this is going to end, and Matt starts noticing something even worse. The system itself is being manipulated. The jury, one of the jurors, is blackmailed, forced to influence the verdict, and yeah, at this point it's clear. This city isn't broken, it's controlled. So Matt handles it the only way he knows how. He tracks down the guy behind the blackmail, beats the truth out of him, and forces him to get back off. No more interference, at least for now. After a fight, Matt finally gets what he's been looking for: a name: Wilson Fisk. And the moment Harry says it, everything changes, because even he knows what that means. There's no escaping that name. Matt tells him to run, leave the city, disappear, but Harry just laughs it off, because he knows it doesn't matter. Once you are involved, you don't get out. To come for him, Harry kills himself right there, and for a second, even Matt is shaken. And then we finally see him, Wilson Fisk, standing in an art gallery, quietly looking at a plain white painting. No violence, no shouting, nothing dramatic, and somehow that makes him even more unsettling. Episode 4 starts off in the past, and yeah, we are not even in New York anymore. We are in a Siberian prison where Vladimir and Anatoly Lanskov are barely surviving, getting beaten, tortured, watching people die around them like it's normal. But even in that situation, Vladimir isn't thinking about survivor, he's thinking bigger. Not Moscow, America, because in his mind that's where they don't just survive, they take over. And yeah, fast forward to the present, and that plan is already in motion. Back in Hell's Kitchen, Matt has been hitting the Russians so hard that they are starting to panic. He keeps pushing, trying to get closer to the real name behind everything: Wilson Fisk. At the same time, he checks on Claire, who's now hiding because of all this. She calls him out for basically having a death wish, but still helps him anyway. She knows how dangerous this is and still chooses to stay involved. Meanwhile, Karen keeps pushing the Union Allied story, taking it to Ben Urich, but this time he doesn't hold back. He tells her the truth: everyone connected to that case is dead, except her. And that's not luck, that's a warning. He's older now, more careful, not trying to run straight into danger like he used to. But Karen isn't backing off, and while all this is happening, the Russians are dealing with their own problems. Weasley offers them Fisk's help, but Vladimir refuses because he knows it's not help, it's control. And Atari, though, isn't thinking that far. He just sees survivor, and that difference, yeah, it's about to cost them. Things get worse when the Russians figure out Claire is connected to the masked man, and they grab her. Just like that, she's dragged right into the middle of this war. Matt hears it happen, and there's no hesitation. He tracks them down to their garage hideout, shuts off the lights, and uses the darkness like it's his home ground. One by one, he takes them out. Not clean, not easy, just pure chaos. And in the middle of it, Claire realizes exactly what kind of world she's stepped into. At the same time, on the complete opposite side of the city, Fisk is on a date with Vanessa, and it's almost uncomfortable how normal it looks. He's quite awkward, talking about art and the city like a regular guy. You did almost forget who he is. almost, because that normal moment doesn't last. An Atari, thinking he's making a smart move, shows up and interrupts Fisk's dinner to accept his offer. In his mind, he's fixing things. In reality, he just made the worst decision of his life. Fisk stays calm in the moment, gets Vanessa out safely, but after that, there's no holding back. He drags Anatoly out of the car, and what follows is just brutal. No hesitation, no mercy, just pure rage. He kills him in the most violent way possible, making it very clear this isn't just a businessman, this is someone you do not disrespect. By the end of the episode, everything shifts again. Claire now fully understands how dangerous Matt's world is and still chooses to stand by him. Karen and Yuri quietly decide to keep digging even if it gets them killed, and Fisk, he's done pretending to stay in the shadows. Episode 5 starts off a little calmer, but yeah, that doesn't last long. Matt and Claire finally get a moment to breathe, and for once, it's not about fighting or running. Matt opens up her to explain how he actually sees the world. Not darkness, but something like a world on fire, where everything is just shapes, sounds, and movement. It's the closest thing to peace he gets, and for a moment, it almost feel normal. They talk, they connect, and yeah, they finally kiss. But this show doesn't let good moments live for too long, because across the city, Vladimir gets the worst news possible. His brother Anatoly's body shows up headless, with Matt's black mask placed on it. A message, just not the right one. Vladimir snaps instantly, goes full revenge mode, and now he wants the masked man dead. And the worst part, this plays perfectly into Wilson Fisk's plan. At the same time, Fisk gathers the rest of his partners, Madame Gao, Nobu, Leland, and makes it clear that the Russians are no longer part of the picture. He's already done with them, not him. They are not partners anymore, just a problem waiting to be removed. And the others, they are not exactly happy about how he handled things, but they go along with it, because at this point, Fisk is already in control. Meanwhile, back on the street level, the story shifts again. Nelson and Murdock take on a new case, Elena Cardenas, a woman being forced out of her home by a powerful landlord who wants to tear down the building and replace it with something more profitable. No big conspiracy here, just regular people getting crushed by the system, and honestly, that makes it worse in different ways. Matt, though, is still focused on Fisk. While tracking the Russians, he runs into one of their operations, takes him down, and starts getting closer to Vladimir. But in the middle of all this, he hears something he wasn't supposed to hear. Cops talking. Dirty cops working for Fisk. Matt tries to push further, interrogates one of the officers and confirms it. Fisk has people everywhere. And while Matt is out there bleeding for this city, Fisk is controlling it from the inside. At the same time, Karen and Foggy are dealing with Elena's case. They visit her place, see how bad things really are. No water, no electricity, just slow pressure to force people out. And instead of backing off, they decide to help her anyway. Back to Matt, he uses the information he got to track Vladimir down. Everything is building up to a confrontation, but before anything can happen, everything explodes. Literally, Fisk sends bombs to multiple Russian locations at the same time, wiping them out in one move. Dozens of men gone, buildings destroyed, completely chaos across Hell's Kitchen. It's not a fight, it's a cleanup. And in the middle of that chaos, innocent people get caught too. Elena is injured when one of the explosions hits her building. Fisk watches it all from a distance, calm as ever, sitting with Vanessa like it's just another night. He even explains it in his own way, that the city needs to be destroyed before it can be rebuilt, and somehow he actually believes that. Meanwhile, Matt is right there in the middle of it, buried under debris, fighting to survive after the blast, and when he finally gets up, it's not over because Vladimir is still alive. Matt goes after him. He takes down his remaining men and finally faces him, but before he can finish anything, the police show up. Guns pointed, no way out. And just like that, everything stops because now Matt isn't just fighting criminals anymore. He's surrounded by a system that's already against him. Episode 6 starts right where the last last one left off in the middle of chaos, rubber everywhere, and yeah, things somehow get even worse. Matt manages to grab Vladimir after the explosion, but before he can do anything, the police show up. For a second, it looks like help, but no, these cops, they are dirty, working for Fisk, and their plan is simple: kill Vladimir, kill Matt, clean it up, and move on. Easy, but Matt fights back, barely makes it out alive, and drags a half-dead Vladimir into an abandoned building to hide. Meanwhile, the city is already spinning the story. The news picks up the bombings, and Ben Urich quickly realizes something's off. Every place that got hit belongs to the Russians. This isn't random, it's planned. Someone is wiping them out, and yeah, that someone is Fisk. Back inside the building, things are not going smoothly. Vladimir is bleeding out, still convinced Matt killed his brother, and honestly, he did rather die than cooperate. So now Matt has two problems: keep this guy alive and somehow get information out of him. And since he's not exactly a doctor, he calls Claire for help. Over the phone, she guides him through treating a bullet wound, which includes cauterizing it with a flare. Yeah, exactly as painful as it sounds. But then it gets worse. A rookie cop hears Vladimir screaming and walks in, completely unaware of what's going on. Matt takes him down, but the damage is done. Backup is called, and now the entire building is surrounded. Cops outside, snipers on rooftops, and Fisk's people mixed in, ready to turn this into something else entirely. And Fisk, he's not even hiding anymore. He gets on the radio and talks to Matt directly, calm and controlled, like this is just another conversation, and this is where it gets clear. Both of them think they are saving the city. Matt believes in justice, in stopping people like Fisk, and Fisk, he believes the city needs to be rebuilt, no matter how many people it costs. Same goal, completely different methods. Then Fisk makes his move. Shots start firing from outside, not at Matt, but at the police. His own people create chaos, turning the whole situation into a media spectacle, and just like that, the story changes. Now the masked man is the villain, the one responsible for everything. Fisk doesn't just control crime, he controls the narrative. Inside, Matt finally gets through to Vladimir. With everything falling apart, Vladimir realizes the truth. Fisk played them all, and before it's too late, he gives Matt what he needs: a name. Rand Olsey, the man behind the money, the one keeping Fisk's empire running. That's the piece Matt was missing. With that, there's nothing left to do. The building is about to be overrun, so Matt escapes through underground tunnels while Vladimir stays behind, knowing he's not making it out. Matt gets out, barely alive, barely standing, but now he knows more than he did before, and Fisk, he just proves something important. This city isn't just broken, it's controlled. Episode 7 starts by going back into Matt's past and finally answers one big question: why this guy fights like he has nothing to lose? The answer: a man named Stick, blind, ruthless, and honestly one of the worst mentors you could ask for. After his father's death, young Matt is struggling to even exist with his senses going crazy, and Stick shows up, not to comfort him, but to break him down and rebuild him. He teaches Matt how to fight, how to control his abilities, but also drills one thing into his head: pain is useful and attachment is weakness. And just when Matt starts seeing him like family, Stick leaves. Back in the present, Stick suddenly returns, and it's not for a reunion. He's chasing something called Black Sky, a weapon so dangerous that he's already killing people just to track it down. He finds out it's headed to New York, which means Matt's city is about to get a lot worse. When Stick meets Matt again after all these years, there's no warmth, no emotion, just business. He tells him straight up, a war is coming, and if they don't act now, it's game over. Matt agrees to help, but with one condition: no killing, which, if you know Stick, is already a problem. At the same time, things on the ground aren't slowing down either. Karen is still digging into Elena's case, trying to connect the dots between the shady construction companies and everything else happening in the city. But this time, her digging gets her into trouble. She gets followed, attacked, and yeah, things could have gone really bad if Foggy didn't show up at the right moment. Man literally pulls up with a bat and saves her like it's a random superhero origin story. Not bad, Foggy. Meanwhile, Matt is getting closer to Fisk's operation. He tracks down Rand Owsley, tries to get answers, but before he can push further, someone else shows up. Stick takes him to the docks where the Black Sky is about to arrive. They fight through guards, clear the area, and finally reach the container. Everything builds up to this moment, and then they open it. And it's not what Matt expected. It's a kid, chained, scared, just a child. And that's where everything breaks. Stick doesn't hesitate. To him, this isn't a kid, it's a weapon, something that needs to be eliminated before it becomes a threat. But Matt refuses. He steps in, stops him, protects the kid. For him, this line matters. Once you cross it, you don't come back. But Stick, he doesn't care. While Matt is distracted fighting off the others, Stick does it anyways. He kills the kid, and just like that, the deal is broken. Back at the apartment, things explode between them. Matt is furious, completely done with Stick and everything he stands for, and for the first time, he doesn't hold back. The two of them fight, not just physically, but ideologically. Stick believes mercy gets people killed, while Matt believes killing people makes you the problem. Same war, completely different sides. Matt wins the fight, and this time he doesn't let Stick stay. He tells him to leave and not to come back. And just when it feels like that chapter is closed, Matt finds something unexpected: the bracelet he gave Stick as a kid. The one thing that showed he cared, which means Stick didn't completely forget him. But yeah, that doesn't fix anything. At the same time, Karen brings Foggy into the bigger picture. She introduces him to Ben Urich, shows him everything they have been working on, the Union Allied case, the hidden connections, and the idea that there's someone at the top controlling all of it, a king behind the scenes. And now there are two players on the board, that king and the masked man trying to take him down. And somewhere out there, Stick reports back that the Black Sky is handled, at least for now. But even he isn't sure about Matt anymore. Episode 8 shifts the spotlight directly onto Wilson Fisk and finally asks the question that's been building this whole time: what actually made him like this? And the answer isn't simple, but it starts with a childhood full of violence. Through flashbacks, we see young Fisk growing up in a house where his father rules through fear, constantly abusing his mother while forcing his own ambitions onto his family. It all builds up to one breaking point where Fisk snaps and kills his father with a hammer. It's brutal, uncomfortable, and way too personal, but it explains exactly where that quiet controlled rage comes from. Back in the present, Fisk's empire isn't as stable as it looks. Nobu Yoshioka is furious over the loss of Black Sky. Madame Gao is growing impatient and tensions within his own circle are starting to rise. At the same time, a dangerous ruse and reappears. The cop Christian Blake wakes up from his coma. That's a problem Fisk can't ignore. So he forces another corrupt officer, Hoffman, to kill his own partner just to keep everything quiet. It's a clear reminder that in Fisk's world, loyalty doesn't exist, only usefulness. Meanwhile, Matt Murdock, Karen Page, and Foggy Nelson keep digging deeper into the Union Allied case. What started as a small legal issue is now connecting to something much bigger. They begin linking shell companies like Confederated Global Investments to the harassment happening around Elena Cardenas' building. With Ben Urich helping them, it finally feels like they have enough to expose him, but they are too late because Fisk makes the smartest move of the entire episode. He steps out of the shadows on his own terms. Instead of being exposed, he introduces himself to the world as a legitimate businessman and philanthropist, publicly condemning the masked vigilante and presenting himself as the man who wants to save Hell's Kitchen. in one move, he flips the entire narrative. Suddenly, the criminal mastermind becomes the city's savior, and the man trying to stop him becomes the villain. And just like that, everything changes because a hidden enemy is dangerous, but a respected public one, that's almost impossible to stop. In the episode 9, Matt and the others think they are finally close to exposing Wilson Fisk through the intimidation happening around Elena Cardenas' building. But that hope gets crushed instantly. Elena is murdered, and just like that, any belief that the system can protect innocent people starts collapsing. Her death hits hard because she was exactly the kind of person Nelson and Murdock were supposed to help. And now Matt is left with a dangerous question sitting in his head. Fisk can't be stopped legally. Do you just kill him? That thought follows him throughout the episode. He keeps going back to Father Random, trying to find some kind of moral ground before he crosses a line he can't come back from. But the more he thinks about it, the more it feels like there are no clean answers anymore. At the same time, Karen, Foggy, and Ben Urich are still trying to build a case, connecting shell companies and following paper trails, but every lead either disappears or ends up dead. Matt, pushed by anger, decides to stop playing safe. He tracks down the man responsible for Elena's murder, beats the truth out of him, and follows the lead straight into what turns out to be a trap, because instead of finding Fisk, he finds Nobu Yoshioka waiting for him. And this fight, it's brutal. Nobu is faster, stronger, and clearly part of something much bigger than Matt realized. It's not just crime anymore, it's something deeper, something organized on another level. The fight pushes Matt to his limit, and in the end, he barely survives by setting Nobu on fire. Not exactly a clean win, but at this point, nothing is. And then it gets worse. Fisk shows up, calm, controlled, and completely unafraid. He doesn't run, he doesn't hide. If anything, he almost invites Matt to try and kill him. And for a moment, Matt actually goes for it. But he's exhausted, injured, and nowhere near strong enough. Fisk completely overpowers him, beats him down, and leaves him barely alive. It's not even a fight. It's a reminder of how far Matt still has to go. Somehow, Matt manages to escape and crawl back home, barely holding on, and just when it feels like he might finally get a second to breathe, the last thing he wanted happens. Foggy finds him, broken, bleeding, unconscious, and wearing the mask. And in that moment, Foggy Nelson finally learns the truth. His best friend is the man behind the mask. Episode 10, Nelson vs. Murdock, finally triggers the fallout that's been building since the very beginning. Foggy Nelson finds Matt Murdock beaten, masked, and barely alive, and in that moment, every lie from the past few years suddenly makes sense. The episode keeps cutting back to their past, showing how they met, how they built their friendship, and how they chose to start Nelson and Murdock together. They weren't just partners, they were genuinely close. Dumb jokes, loyalty, shared dreams, and that's exactly why this moment hurts so much. At the same time, Karen Page and Ben Urich push deeper into Wilson Fisk's past. What they find is huge. Fisk's mother is still alive, and through her, they uncover the truth about his childhood, that he killed his own father when he was just a kid. It explains a lot about who he is now, but it doesn't help them legally. It's not evidence that can bring him down today. It's just more proof that they are dealing with someone far more dangerous than they thought. Meanwhile, Fisk's world is starting to shift in its own way. Madame Gao warns him that he's changing, that his attachment to Vanessa Mariana is becoming a weakness. And she's not wrong, because for the first time, Fisk is distracted. He's trying to balance being a public savior and a criminal mastermind at the same time, and that kind of conflict doesn't end cleanly. And then the episode lands one more hit at Fisk's fundraising event. Everything seems perfect. Powerful people, influence, control, but suddenly guests start collapsing. The champagne is poisoned and Vanessa is one of the victims. Just like that, the one person Fisk actually cares about is in danger, and you can see something inside him snap. But even that chaos doesn't hit as hard as what's happening between Matt and Foggy, because by the end there's no fixing it. Foggy can't accept what Matt has become, not just the violence but the lies, the secrecy, the fact that Matt was ready to cross a line and kill. To Foggy, that makes him no different from Fisk, and Matt, he doesn't back down. He truly believes the city needs him, even if it costs everything else. So Foggy makes his choice. He walks away. He leaves the office, their partnership, everything they built together, and throws the Nelson and Murdock sign in the trash. Episode 11 opens with pure urgency as Wilson Fisk rushes Vanessa Mariana to the hospital after the poisoning at his own fundraiser. For a moment, the mask drops. You actually see panic in him, real fear, even though he's done more than enough to deserve everything coming his way. He's forced to wait outside while the doctors fight to save her, completely powerless, and it's clear this is shaking him in a way nothing else has. Meanwhile, the rest of the guests who drank the champagne are already dying, which confirms one thing: this wasn't random. Someone made a move against him. At the same time, Karen Page tries to bring what she and Ben Urich discovered to Matt Murdock and Foggy Nelson. The truth is finally out. Fisk killed his own father as a child, and his mother is still alive. On paper, it sounds like a huge breakthrough, but when they actually sit with it, it doesn't change anything. It explains who Fisk is, it explains how he became this way, but it doesn't stop him. Karen wants this to be the thing that destroys him, the final piece that exposes everything. But what she really has is psychology, not proof strong enough to take him down. Matt, meanwhile, goes in a completely different direction after his brutal fight. He remembers something critical. Fisk was wearing some kind of reinforced armor under his clothes. The detail leads him straight to Melvin Potter. When Matt confronts him, it starts off like every other encounter, tense, violent, ready to explode, but very quickly Matt realizes Melvin isn't the enemy. He's scared, he's being controlled. Fisk is using someone Melvin cares about to keep him in line, and instead of breaking him, Matt does something different. He gives him a way out. He asks for help, not obedience. In that moment, Matt doesn't just gain information, he plants the seed for something bigger, becoming more than just a man who fights in the dark. Elsewhere, James Weasley is trying to hold Fisk's world together while everything feels like it's slipping. Rand Owlsley is already questioning Fisk's leadership, especially now that Vanessa has become a weakness. But then Weasley learns something that changes everything. Karen visited Fisk's mother. Instead of informing Fisk, Weasley decides to take control himself, and that decision is where everything breaks. He kidnaps Karen and takes her to a remote location. No theatrics, no unnecessary cruelty, just calm, controlled intimidation. He lays everything out in front of her. He tells her exactly how powerful Fisk is, how deep his influence runs, how the system itself bends around him. He explains that people who go against Fisk don't just lose, they disappear. Then he offers her a choice: walk away, convince Ben, Matt, and Foggy, everyone, to stop digging, let Fisk rebuild the city the way he wants, and in return, she lives. For a moment, it really feels like Karen is trapped, but Weasley makes one mistake. He underestimates her. While he's distracted on a call, Karen spots the gun, and in a split second, everything flips. She grabs it, points it at him, and there's no hesitation, no second thoughts. She pulls the trigger again and again and again until James Weasley is dead on the floor. Just like that, the most loyal, controlled, and dangerous man in Fisk's inner circle is gone. And that's the real turning point of the episode, because while Matt spends the entire episode struggling with the question whether men like Fisk deserve to live or die, Karen is forced into the exact moment without warning, and when it comes down to it, she doesn't debate, she doesn't philosophize, she acts. The episode closes with everything hanging in the balance. Matt is still searching for a line he refuses to cross. Fisk is about to lose the one man who kept his empire stable, and Karen has already crossed that line. Episode 12 begins right after Karen Page kills James Weasley, and the show doesn't let her escape that moment even for a second. She throws the gun into the river, returns to her apartment, and completely breaks down. She drinks whatever she can find, trying to numb the shock, but it doesn't work. When she finally passes out, it's not rest, it's a nightmare, with Wilson Fisk standing over her, telling her that killing only gets easier, before turning that violence on her. By morning, she's barely holding it together, running on panic, guilt, and fear, trying to act normal when nothing feels normal anymore. At the office, she runs into Foggy Nelson, who's still carrying the weight of discovering Matt's secret. Despite everything, Foggy makes it clear his goal hasn't changed. He still wants Fisk taken down. He even admits that maybe the masked man isn't the enemy after all. He takes some of Ben Urich's files and leaves, brushing past Matt in a tense, unresolved moment. Matt tries to talk to Karen, apologizes for everything falling apart, but she's too shaken to open. She admits she regrets getting involved in all of this, but she also knows she has nowhere else to go. Even when Matt senses something is off, she keeps the truth about Weasley to herself. Meanwhile, Vanessa wakes up in the hospital, and for a brief moment, it feels like something good might come out of the chaos. Fisk is relieved, softer, almost human again as he explains what happened and apologizes for putting her in danger. He plans to send her somewhere safe, far away from everything, but she refuses to leave him. Instead, she tells him to find whoever did this and make them pay. That's all Fisk needs. The moment shifts instantly. Later, when he sees Weasley's body at the docks, everything changes. Weasley wasn't just an assistant, he was loyalty, stability, and the one person Fisk trusted completely. Losing him breaks something inside Fisk. His grief turns violent fast, flashing out at his own men until Rand Owlsley steps in to steady him and remind him not to lose control. On another front, Matt keeps pushing forward. He follows a lead connected to the heroin trade, steals a serpent, and tracks it back to Madame Gao's operation. What he finds is horrifying. Dozens of blind workers forced into brutal condition, packaging drugs. It's no longer just crime, it's exploitation at its worst. Matt fights his way through the operation, confronting Gao directly, but she remains calm and untouchable. She claims the workers blinded themselves out of belief, twisting reality in a way only she can. Before Matt can get real answers, she strikes him hard and disappears, escaping once again while everything burns behind her. Even when Matt tries to save the workers, the damage is already done, and when Brett Mahoney arrives, Matt barely escapes, leaving behind only a warning about Fisk and the corruption spreading through the system. At the same time, the pressure on Ben Urich keeps building. He and Karen both realizes something dangerous. Their visit to Fisk's mother may have exposed them, and they are right. Fisk retraces Weasley's last steps, connects the dots, and starts getting closer to the truth. Meanwhile, Ben tries to publish his story at the Bulletin, but he's completely shut down. No confirmation, no solid backing. The system refuses to let the truth out. His editor blocks the article, and when Ben pushes back, accusing him of being compromised, it costs him everything. He's fired. But Ben doesn't stop. Encouraged by his wife, he decides to take another route. If the system won't publish the truth, he will do it himself. He plans to put everything online, and then comes the final scene. Ben returns home, sits down, and starts writing. He's ready to finally tell the story, but he's not alone in the dark waiting. The conversation is quite controlled and terrifying. Fisk confirms what Ben already knows, that he has influence everywhere, even inside the Bulletin. Then he asks the one question that matters: was Ben alone when he visited his mother? Ben lies. He protected Karen, and that decision seals his fate. Fisk doesn't hesitate. He grabs him and strangles him slowly, brutally, taking the life of one of the only truly decent men left in the city. By the end of the episode, there's no illusion left. Karen is drowning in guilt, Matt is realizing just how deep the darkness goes, and Fisk is done pretending. The season stops holding back, and from here on, no one is safe. This is it, the season finale, and it wastes no time, hitting hard. The episode opens at Ben Urich's funeral, setting the tone immediately. There's no victory here, no relief, just loss. Karen is drowning in guilt, blaming herself for Ben's death death, while Matt carries that same weight, convinced that early failure in Hell's Kitchen somehow comes back to him. Father Rand tries to pull him back from the edge, reminding him that he can't carry the entire city on his shoulders, but Matt isn't ready to hear that. From there, everything starts moving fast. Back at his penthouse, Wilson Fisk begins connecting the final dots. He reviews his finances and realizes something is off. When he confronts Rand Owsley, the truth comes out. Not only has Owsley been stealing from him, but he and Madame Gao were behind the poisoning. Vanessa was the target all along. In Fisk's world, betrayal only ends one way. Without hesitation, he kills Owsley, throwing him down an elevator shaft, and immediately orders his men to find Carl Hoffman. Meanwhile, Matt and Foggy finally come back together. After everything, the lies, the anger, the fallout, they realize they are stronger as a team. With Karen's help, they dig through the remaining evidence and find a hidden lead pointing to Hoffman's location. But Fisk's men get there first, sending corrupt cops to eliminate him. Just when it looks like it's over, the masked man shows up. Matt takes them down, saves Hoffman, and forces him to make a choice: run or tell the truth. This time, Hoffman chooses to talk. What follows is the closest thing to a win they have had all season. Hoffman turns himself in, and with Matt and Foggy representing him, he gives up everything: names, operations, connections. The entire network starts collapsing. The FBI moves in, and suddenly people who thought they were untouchable are getting arrested. Corrupt cops, politicians, Fisk's allies, all falling one by one. For a moment, it actually feels like Fisk is finished. But of course, it's not that simple. Even in custody, Fisk still has reach. While being transported, his convoy is ambushed by mercenaries who wipe out the entire escort. It's chaos, and in that chaos, Fisk escapes. This is the moment everything has been leading to. Matt knows there's only one way this ends. He goes to Melvin Potter and finally gets what he needs: the red suit. Not just protection, but a symbol, something bigger than the mask, something the city can believe in. And for the first time, he fully becomes Daredevil. Tracking Fisk down, the final confrontation begins. It's brutal, personal, and raw. Fisk is stronger, fueled by rage, convinced that everything he did was for the good of the city. Matt, on the other hand, stands for something different, a line he refuses to cross. They go all out, trading heavy blows, pushing each other to the limit, but this time Matt doesn't break. He endures, he adapts, and finally he wins. Fisk is taken back into custody, defeated not just physically but completely. His empire is gone, his control is broken. Vanessa leaves the country alone, just like he asked, while Fisk ends up in prison, staring at a blank wall, just like his father once forced him to do. Back in the city, the dust settles. The media finally gives the masked man a name: Daredevil. Matt, Foggy, and Karen stand together again, not unchanged, not healed, but still standing. They have lost too much for this to feel like a clean victory. Ben is gone, Elena is gone, the damage is real, and yet they move forward because Hell's Kitchen still needs someone, and now it finally has Daredevil. But here's the thing, this isn't the end, because when someone like Fisk falls, he doesn't leave peace behind, he leaves a void. Season 2 is coming soon, and trust me, you are not ready for what's coming. So if you made it this far, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.